Yo, what's going on, believers? Happy Sunday. Gonna go ahead and do a weekly outlook in between football games here. So, take a minute, a few seconds, whatever, right? I am not a financial advisor. I am a belief advisor. The only thing I'm advising you to do is to get you some belief in self, okay? But as far as this week here that lies ahead, markets are open and moving around. The things that I'm most interested in this week actually starts Tuesday, London session. So the CPI for the Eurozone. Following that, my attention moves towards the Canadian dollar CPI, which is Tuesday morning, 7:30 a.m. Central Time. Following that, my next focus is going to be on the GBP CPI, which is Wednesday, London session, 1 a.m. Central Time. And then the banger, FOMC, right? All of this, the federal interest rate decision. So it's currently at 5.5%. The forecast is expected to stay the same. So just another pause, not a decrease in the rates or increase in the rates. So it'll be interesting to see what type of effect this has on the markets, right? But again, just to remind you, I view the news as smoke and mirrors more than anything. The numbers can be whatever, and then it can always be readjusted or adjusted and then readjusted, and then whatever words to explain it to make people comfortable is what they're going to do all the time. That's just how the powers that be run the world, and it just makes sense like that to me. So all I care about is that it's going to inspire volatility within the marketplaces, and I'm just going to look for the liquidity that the price should be running to and try to catch a ride there. That's it. And so there's more news for the rest of the week. Always on Thursday, there's unemployment claims. And then on Friday, things like this, right? Like core retail sales. This would be important for the GBP USD pair potentially. So got a lot of potential opportunities coming up this week. And then if you're not already on Twitter, or if you're on Twitter, you're not following me yet on Twitter, my Twitter name is the exact same as it is here. I will be a little bit more active on there, just sharing things, about my mindset, charts, all that type of stuff. So if you are like kind of in the industry or in the business, the financial world, definitely go ahead and do yourself a favor and follow me. Now to the charts. So weekly chart for the dollar, I'm anticipating a run at a previous week's high. I'm looking at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 straight up close weeks. So dollar has been on a tear since it did this drop here. Well, actually, it's really been dropping a lot since the fall of 2022. So it's really been in the downtrend here. Just looking at it from there. And so what's going on here is kind of getting to a point where I do want to see, just for a healthy type of delivery, want to see some sort of correction lower if it is to continue higher, right? I want to see it kind of trade back within this range, potentially at this low, and whatever high it prints before it starts to do that retracement, because I wouldn't really consider from a weekly time frame this any sort of retracement yet. But this weekend in particular did take out a previous week's low, the only week to do that in this whole price run up. So at this point, it did have a run on sell side liquidity on this time interval, right? And then seeing that continuation higher. So that's why I'm referencing this low to whatever high is put in before price starts to give some sort of significant correction back lower. But just keeping it short, sweet, my draw on liquidity for the dollar is this high here. What it does when it gets there's not something that I can even talk about yet, right? Until it happens. I need to see what happens, how the daily looks at that particular moment, all of those types of things, right? Especially the 4 hour, the hourly, right? Those really do help tell the story for what's most likely going to happen next in price. So as far as the daily is concerned, though, this is where there's a little bit of a difference. So the weekly draw is the previous week's high. But for the daily, my draw is actually Friday's low. And so same thing, right? It gets down to Friday's low. What it does here is not really my concern. I just know that for today, I'm looking to see if there's any validation of a price run to this low that could, right, potentially send the indices higher. As you know, I like to see the indices and the dollar doing opposite of each other. It's not a everyday situation, right? But just to show you, for example, I'm gonna go back to the weekly here. And so this is around mid-June, right? This turnaround where it starts to run higher. So just looking at the NASDAQ really quick, it also, well, see, like, so that mid-June time frame, it's in the consolidation here. There is a run higher still, and that's the thing, right, where they're not always going to be day by day, week by week. If the indices have somewhere to go, they're going to go there. So that's what they did. There was a lot of earnings as well coming out, so there was a lot of volatility, things like that. See a nice push higher, but still didn't really go anywhere, and then rolls over, knocking out the low here. So definitely, like, with seeing that strength in the dollar, started to see this strength and this start to decrease a little bit. So not saying that this is, starting to turn around back into a bear market, but just keeping in mind that with dollar being so strong, it will be difficult for this to also be strong. And then if the dollar does start to show me some retracement, right, some correction lower, that's when I'll start to anticipate this to work its way at least back to the high of whatever range that is currently in, if not to, completely take out the high and go higher, right? But so now, since I'm already here, for the NASDAQ, I'm looking for last week's low as far as the weekly time frame, right? That's my drawn liquidity. As far as the daily, also looking for Friday's low, which also happens to be the low of the week. So looking for that same reference point on the weekly and the daily. Looking at the E-mini S&P, so also looking for last week's low to be taken out. And then same thing, right? Friday actually became that low, so looking for Friday's low as well on the daily. Looking at Dow Jones or US 30, also looking for last week's low to be taken out. And Friday was not the low of the week. So as far as the daily, I also looking for Friday's low, which is above the low of the week. So there was a little bit of a difference in the delivery and indices, which makes sense. There was lots of manipulation, in my opinion, last week. And I want to see that kind of shaken out of the market a little bit this week before I feel confident in anything being high probability. And then last but not least, I will actually talk about gold, because gold was very nice to me last week. And so as far as gold is concerned, I'm looking for this high to be taken out. Now that does kind of contradict, right, with I'm also looking for the previous week's high on dollar. So that's what I'm saying. When it gets to these areas, these are high time frame areas where I'm expecting sensitivity. The sensitivity that I'm seeing when it gets there, also the delivery to those areas, are all it's all information, right, that I can utilize to kind of get a feel for what's most likely to happen that next session, the next day, the next week. It all works in together. So as far as the weekly is concerned, that's my drawn liquidity for gold. And then so on the daily, so looking for Friday's high, which is not the high of last week. Right, Monday ended up making a high. So kind of like with 30, where I'm looking for that Friday low, but then below that Friday low is a weekly low from last week. Same thing with gold, but opposite. Looking for Friday's high, and then above Friday's high is the high of last week. And so those are just keeping this, simple. My draws on liquidity going into this week, and we shall see how that plays out. So shout out to the believers, shout out to the dreamers, shout out to the homies that inspire me to be better each and every day. I love you, appreciate you. More do you know. Y'all be safe out here, and I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.